Hello, welcome to Year 7. This is an introduction to the unit that you're going to do this whole year. So what are we going to look at? Drawing. We're going to spend the year drawing. We're going to do different styles of drawing, different types of drawing, using different materials, different reasons for drawing, different ways of communicating. How do we do a drawing? What do we use to do a drawing? So the first question is, what is a drawing? It seems quite obvious really until you have to actually define it. Maybe it's easier to think about what it isn't. What is different about a drawing from a painting or a sculpture? The first thing obviously is the surface and maybe the materials you use and the techniques. Here's a dictionary definition. It's a picture or plan made by means of lines on a surface, especially one made with a pencil or a pen without the use of paint. That's fine, but maybe you can argue there are drawings that aren't made up of lines. In fact, you will be doing some. And you could also say that maybe we could do a drawing with paint. We could use a paintbrush and paint to make lines, to draw in the same way that we might with a pencil. So it's a good definition, but maybe not entirely accurate. Grayson Perry, who's a very interesting artist who does lots of ceramic work, his description of a drawing is: until we can insert a USB, so that's something like a flash drive, into our ear and download our thoughts, drawing remains the best way of getting visual information onto the page. What he's saying is that drawing is the best way of getting ideas from your head to somebody else. How can you show somebody else what you're thinking? He is saying that drawing is the best way of doing it, and he doesn't care what technique you're using, what materials you're using. It's just that idea of getting that information over to somebody else. This is a drawing that I did. In fact, it's a combination of 3 or 4 drawings at the teacher training day. It's just looking at what's in front of me, putting some lines on the page and creating an image, and you can get a sense of what was going on at these teacher training days from my drawing, much more than me sitting there describing it to you in words. Here's a few drawings from sketchbooks by a few artists. Chris Riddell, you'll almost certainly have read one of his books, or at least seen one. Done lots of books, lots of illustration, just a couple of sketchbook ideas. This is someone sitting on a train or maybe a bus. They're looking at the people around them, just drawing what they can see, putting those ideas down on the page. This is slightly different, so it's organic shapes, clearly from someone's head, some ideas. It's obviously not real plants, but you can tell that it's kind of based on plants, but it's just sort of thinking out loud almost. Observational drawing, maybe sitting in a cafe looking at a restaurant over the road, drawing what they can see, and then there's a person with a dog going past, quickly added in. Same person, maybe their daughter, quite young. It's got to be a quick drawing. This little girl is not going to sit still. Escher, MC Escher, you will know his work, you'll have seen his optical illusion type drawings, the most famous ones being the staircases that go up or go down seemingly forever. Sketchbook pages with hands. And that's there because that's your first task. You are going to find the first double page in your sketchbook. This is for classwork, don't do this at home please. You're going to write the title and the date on the top of the right hand page. If you're left-handed, all of these left and rights should be the other way round. You place your non-drawing hand on the left page and then you draw a picture of your hand using a pen. Do not draw round your hand and fill it in. It's very obvious when you do this. I want you to be looking at your hand very carefully and drawing what you can see, not drawing round it. You do it in pen. Why do you do it in pen? What's different about drawing with pen rather than pencil? Well, the most obvious thing is that you can't rub it out. Obviously you can get erasable pens, but I don't want you using those. So why is that better? Maybe not better, but it's different. It makes you think about the line much more before you put it on the page. It's really good discipline drawing in pen, because you really have to think before you draw. With a pencil you always kind of think, oh well, if I put it down wrong I can just rub it out. With a pen you know you can't, so you have to think about it much more, and if you make a mistake you have to leave it there or try and correct it in some way. The next part is much harder. You're then going to draw your drawing hand, drawing the first hand. So this is quite hard. You're drawing what you're drawing with. Obviously as soon as you start drawing it, it's going to move. So this makes it really tricky. This is not as easy as the first hand. The success criteria. Confident lines. I don't want fluffy lines. I don't like fluffy lines, particularly not in pen. Nice, confident lines. Accurate and recognizable drawing of both hands. I want people to be able to look at your drawing and see exactly what's going on, understanding the drawing, understanding it's a drawing of a hand and then a hand drawing the hand. And a good composition. This is going to be harder because of the way you're having to do this, but try and get the things nicely placed on the page. Maybe think about with the second hand, it might be a different position from the one in my drawing to fill the page nicely. Next you're going to look at 3 different shading techniques. So in pencil you will draw 30mm squares. So when I talk about measurements I'm always going to be talking about millimeters. So I'm going to say draw squares of 30. There will be 30mm unless I say otherwise. You're going to do it in 2 columns 30mm apart, and each column is going to have 6 squares. So each column is 30mm wide and 180mm tall. You're going to shade the squares in using hatching and cross hatching. So hatching is just straight parallel lines. You're not going to use the ruler. Obviously you use the ruler to draw the squares. You're not going to use the ruler to do the shading. So hatching. In the bottom one, maybe just 2 or 3 lines. In the top there's going to be dozens of lines. Try and keep them fairly parallel, keep them fairly straight. I'm not worried if they're not perfectly straight, but try and keep them parallel. Second column, exactly the same, but you're going to go across. So at right angles to the first set of lines, you're going to have another set. The success criteria. Accurately drawn boxes get the measurements right. Neat, evenly spaced lines. And even steps in the gradients. That's the hard bit, going from dark to light in even shades. The next one, you're going to do a continuous tone gradient. Again, title at the top. So this time continuous tone and the date. You're going to draw a box that's 50mm wide and 180mm tall. And in there you're going to shade as dark as you can at the top to as light as possible at the bottom. So basically white, the colour of the page. You might want to rub out part of the box at the bottom so there's not even a line. You will get it as dark as you can at the top, so obviously pressing really hard with the pencil, obviously not too hard to damage the paper. Getting lighter and lighter, as smooth as you can down to the bottom. So that's the success criteria, that gradient, and then just the accuracy of the box that you've drawn. The third technique, again, title and date. The title this time is stippling. And stippling is basically shading done with dots, or it can be very little lines. So lines maybe only 1 or 2 millimeters long. If it gets too long, it's going to start to look like hatching. So very short lines or dots. This time you're going to do it in pen. You draw the boxes in pencil, and the boxes will be 30mm, and they'll be squares, but each one will then have a 10mm gap in between. 9 boxes, stippled from white to almost completely solid. So the first box is really easy because it has nothing in it. Then you do increasingly more dots as you get towards the last box. Success criteria is accurately drawn squares, very neat stippling, and even steps in the gradients. That's really hard to get this getting darker and darker as it goes through. One of the problems that people often have is to get too dark too soon. There's another video that shows using those three techniques. It shows you how to draw spheres in those techniques and also draw some feathers, which we'll do in class. The next task will be to draw a sort of three-dimensional kind of image using lines simply going across the page. But there is another video for that, and we'll come on to that later.